So, social media explained, you're all pretty aware of some of these things, but this is a useful example. For me, I don't eat donuts, but I'd like to one day. Twitter, I'm eating a donut. Who cares about Twitter posts about donuts? But anyway, Facebook, I like donuts. Foursquare, it's a check-in thing. Does anyone use Foursquare? No, okay. YouTube, here's a video of me eating a donut. Instagram, vintage photo, special effects on the donut. Pinterest, pretty donut recipe. Pinterest isn't just about recipes, it's about dresses. Sarah, do you use Pinterest at the moment?
No, I don't.
Okay. You will after this. Alright. Imgur, not really that important. LinkedIn. My skills include donut eating. Who's been spying on each other on LinkedIn lately? Who from this workshop? Guilty faces in the audience. Okay, Spotify is a music channel and Google, okay, that's a bit of an overview. So, the question, are you using the information you have? So we're talking a little bit here about Google Analytics, but let's think about this. You can find out where people access your website from, what location they're in, how long they stay on each page, what's interesting to them. You can find that out. You can find out which products appeal to which specific people and why. Just ask them. You've got the tools, they're easy to use. You don't have to guess and say, why isn't this selling, why isn't that selling? Why are the purple beads never going off the rack but the orange ones are? Ask them. You can start to understand the motivators for purchase and even get customers to design new products. It sounds a little wacky, but it's true. There's a shoe company, maybe you know it, Sarah.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Can't remember. Shoes of Prey.
Shoes of Prey. I need you guys would get this. You design your own shoes. Basically, you choose the style, you choose the leather, you choose what spots that go on it. It's a woman's dream, or a man if you like shoes. Not all women like shoes either. Let's not make generalizations. But then Shoes of Prey, the website, sells the shoes in large quantities that people create most often. Okay, it's an expensive business model, but it works.
All right. How do you get people to answer your question?
How do I get people to answer my... Well,
On Facebook.
we'll get into that a little bit. It's all about engagement. Okay, social media is easy. Everyone's on Facebook, everyone knows how to use Twitter, you just get in there and type stuff. But that doesn't mean it should be quick. It's really important to be strategic with what you do on Facebook. Just because you can put something up there now, doesn't mean you should. It means you should plan it. So have a schedule. Think about it like you would a media release. Today we're going to do this. That means we need pictures for it 2 weeks ago. You can't just decide on the spot. That's basic communication. The other thing which Sue just touched on there is plan your content to match the type of social media. Link your channels and hit the big red button when you're ready. Okay, here's an example of a really clever way. I don't know if anyone's seen this particular tweeter, Nat History Whale. Has anyone seen this before? Yep. So people in the cultural spaces are very well aware of this because this was a bit of a game changer. So there's, in the Natural History Museum in New York, there's a giant blue whale hanging from the ceiling. He's really big, size of a real blue whale, but he is the voice of the Natural History Museum on Twitter. He's got a bit of personality, he checks people out in the hall, he celebrates days, he says this sort of stuff. It's not all about history, not all about the museum, because he's building up a personality. Just an example of something that can work. Other examples, this is something that's gone viral. It's an Oreo cookie, but it's gay. So everyone who is or isn't weighing in on the gay argument buys in on this particular sharing thing. They go, ah, that's cool, it's a gay cookie. Share it, share it, share it. Or don't share it if you're not into that, okay? So, social media for arts communities. You're in a unique position because one of the most appealing things on social media, regardless of the type of content, not the music ones, is images. Okay? Images, I meant. Okay, so anyone who works in a field, fashion, design, exhibitions, even theatre, you've got wonderful images and video at your disposal. You just have to think about planning that. This is the number one thing that people click on in every social media space. Interactivity, especially when the information is actually responded to. No one likes people that go on Facebook and say, "What do you think about this?" and then you don't hear anything about it. It's obvious they're just trying to create that interactivity. It's not authentic. We're planning an exhibition about this, you know. Would you like to come to that sort of exhibition? Our artists of choice are this or this for M16. People go, "Oh, actually, I'd really like to see things by this photographer." And you go, "Okay, well, we're going to make a real business decision based on that. Thanks for the input." Personal information of interest, especially about other customers and people behind the brand. So the Film Archive in London actually has a series on YouTube about its curators. I worked at a film archive here. Curators, interesting, peculiar people, great video content, and it's something that you would never ever see otherwise. So think about what you can do there with yourself. You're a personality, people get into that. There's a hairdresser in Canberra who just started a TV series all about the hairdressing industry, but people tune into it. It's really interesting because they're crazy people, right? We're all a bit crazy deep down. And finally, a social incentive to share, to be in or out or part of a particular group. This is a bit difficult because it means you have to be a bit cool. That means being cool to your audience. Doesn't mean being cool to me or someone else down the road. What is cool to your audience? What do they want to be a part of? Okay, all right. So, here's a few ideas. A lot of you are already doing this stuff, but create a Facebook page and don't be afraid to be informal, funny and personal. Has anyone seen a business page for a Facebook where all they do is say, "Hey, we've got this new product. Hey, we've got another new product"? How does it make you feel when you see that? Sorry?
Bored.
Yeah. I'm like, oh
So
man. That's like meeting someone in the street and all they ever say is, "Hey, so about me, this is what I do." You know, you tune out. Instagram or Pinterest to share images and interact with the other images which you like. The fashion brand Sass & Bide uses Pinterest, shows new products, it shows things from the workroom that you wouldn't see in the stores. Think about these things not as personal, but as giving you a clear way to share your content. Again, LinkedIn. This is a really good way to develop your business brand. Okay, you can connect with people who are useful to you from a networking perspective, and we'll get into that a bit later. But you can also create a picture of expertise. So create a resume that clearly defines where your interest lies. So my resume has all the jobs I've had, but it also talks about the groups that I've joined, which are about digital marketing and PR. The articles I like, it's all about digital marketing and PR. It's a bit of broken record, but it gives people the impression that that's what you do. And your personal brand is really important here as well. Blogging, who blogs?
A little bit.
Yeah? So blogging requires dedication and consistency. It's not for everyone, but it can again be a really good way to develop your brand. In the same way that the Natural History Museum whale develops a brand, it injects personality into what you do. It injects a personal perspective into what you do. But you don't want to do it if you're not comfortable with it, because no one wants to read that stuff. There's so many blogs out there. But why not contribute to a blog community? I write occasional blogs for Her Canberra, Lit Magazine, other things around the traps, but I don't want to commit to doing it every day. So think about other outlets. Think about where you can be an expert and where people will find your content interesting. There's heaps of arts blogs out there. Get in touch with them and say, "Oh, can I write a guest blog for you?" So don't think about blogging as something that you have to own. It's not. Okay.
Quick question. if I may. Do you use particular content exclusively with particular streams? Or, I mean, my thought would be, right, well, if I'm creating a YouTube channel
Yep.
and a video of, you know, our last rehearsal and some laughs there, that it goes on YouTube, but it also goes on the web page,
Yep.
and I'll also link to it from
Yep.
Twitter.
That's a really good point, and I do go into that.
Cool. Okay.
So create efficiencies when you're building your networks. This is where I say be patient and take the time to build it effectively. So my LinkedIn goes to Twitter and Facebook. So everything I put on LinkedIn goes to Twitter and Facebook. Similarly, my Pinterest stuff goes to my Facebook. It takes a little mapping. So I can actually, do we have an email list? I can share a map with you that you might want to model for your own business. I didn't include these slides today because I thought it was a little crazy. It's a little in depth, but it can be a really good way to do it. So think about where you want, what your primary source of information is. For most people, it's their website, and then have everything linking to that, and that creates efficiency. So you're not creating this content here, this content there. It also creates brand awareness.
That's the
because
worst
you're
thing, isn't it?
consistent.
Everyone has a blog site and it's got a different brand on it to their Facebook
Yeah.
site and using different pictures that they're updating. That's a
Yeah, and that
bit of a
comes about
challenge,
from
isn't it?
people just jumping on the bandwagon and not planning it.
yeah.
There's no rush.
Hmm.
It's important to participate in a clever way. Don't just jump on a bandwagon because it's standing there, okay?
Yeah.
So think about what works for you, and there's a different type of social media for everything.